Hey, I'm Pat Murphy-Racy. I'm a Sony Artisan of Imagery, and I get a lot of questions on the internet from a lot of people asking, how can I become a Sony Artisan? I'm going to try to answer that question in this video. Let's get into it. Okay, the very first thing I want to say about becoming a Sony Artisan is you don't really become one, you get invited to participate in the program. There is no application, there's nowhere you can go online to like upload pictures to sort of have somebody look at your stuff. It's a lot of word by mouth. And different people have become artisans for very different reasons. So I kind of wanted to just explain the difference first between the artisans that are Sony ambassadors and the collective, which are also Sony ambassadors. The collective are primarily people who are out there every day just slogging away at social media. They are amazing people. They produce content virtually 24 hours a day, and they're publishing constantly content about whatever they're into, whether it's food or dining or travel or landscape photography, water. I mean, it's just, they're amazing. I could never have the energy required to be a Sony collective, let me tell you. But typically, Sony collective members are extremely popular on social media. They have big followings either on YouTube or most often Instagram or other social platforms. Sony Artisans are different. We are not always known for a big social media platform, although many of the artisans have huge reach that way. And I guess the best way for me to explain what a Sony Artisan is to kind of talk about a few people that I've become friends with in the last 10 years of becoming an artisan myself. First, I'm just going to mention Ira Block. He's a Nat Geo guy. He's been at it for many, many, many years. He's an incredibly gifted, talented photographer. He's been all over the world. Typically, anybody that's Nat Geo, they're into long-term photojournalistic stories that are telling really important stories about the environment, about peoples, about whatever. Nancy Borowick is another Sony Artisan. She is very popular. You can find her work often in the New York Times. She's an author of multiple books. She's won World Press Photo a number of times. She's just a really, really incredible photographer, more from the photojournalism bent like myself. Chris Burkhardt is a huge preservation photographer who also, he has like the work he does out in the environment to preserve nature and to kind of leave it alone kind of thing, discovering places and showing people places they've never been to. But then he also does like a lot of work in the Fortune 500. Chris Burkhardt also has 3.9 million followers on Instagram. David Burnett is our consummate overachiever as an artisan. He's been at photojournalism for over 50 years. This guy has produced tons and tons of reportage for the most famous magazines in the world. He he worked for Life magazine as a kid. He went to Vietnam, and this guy is just amazing. He has told the story of the space program from all these different perspectives and with 50 years in between. Pete McBride has visited over 75 countries. He is a Nat Geographic photographer also. He recently hiked the entirety of the Grand Canyon National Park, which is 750 miles, and produced a book on it. Christina Mittermeier is another huge conservation photographer who concentrates on the ocean primarily. She is a trained marine biologist. She has 1.6 million Instagram followers. Christina and her husband are really, really some of the largest known outdoor photographers in the world. Brian Smith is just a phenomenal photographer. We have similar backgrounds from newspapers. He won the Pulitzer Prize at 25 years of age. So he went through the newspaper thing and the magazine thing and then advertising thing. He shoots a lot of famous people. He's an incredibly nice person and is probably one of the smartest people I know. He's probably a genius level guy. David McLean is another Sony Artisan. He, similarly to Brian Smith and I and David Burnett, we have a newspaper background, then magazines, and he has worked for Nat Geographic, Apple, Bounce. He does a lot of work with big corporations, doing annual reports and things like that. These are all brilliant and amazing photographers who have proven themselves time after time after time, year after year after year. Artisans typically are very well-known photographers who have really upped the game, so to speak, in our respective fields of photography or video, filmmaking. They're brilliant people, and it begs the question, what the hell am I doing here? My own story is, newspapers, journalism degree, of course, 4-year degree in journalism, newspaper photography, then magazines. I ended up working for Sports Illustrated for about 12 years as a freelancer. I was never a staff photographer. I was really a B-teamer guy there, honestly. But I'm just very fortunate to have been asked to become an artisan 10 years ago. And so what I would say is this, if you're interested in becoming a Sony Artisan, you can't really call anybody on the phone. You can't show a portfolio to anybody. It doesn't work like that. Do your best work. Do the work that you feel called to do and stay at it for a long, long time. And then maybe one day the phone will ring or you'll get an email or something like that. In my case, I got a call from a guy at Sony corporate who said to me one day, hey, you've been doing all this blogging on using Sony cameras. Every time you publish a blog, I get 150 emails with people linking your blog to me. And so that extra effort of doing, talking about the product and how we're using it and how it's making my life easier as a photographer, that was kind of what got me in the door. But anyway, I guess what I'm saying is you can't really apply to become a Sony Artisan, but don't be discouraged. Do your best work, and someday maybe that will happen. Thanks so much for watching.